My name is Allen Bankz. I want to talk to you today about the power of forgiveness. And the reason I want to talk about the power of forgiveness is because something happened to me when I was a child. And it was very despicable, it's very heinous, and it was that of child molestation. When I was 5 or 6, my mother's brother, he was watching this one day, and my mother and my grandmother was out, and I see him doing something with my brother, and I grabbed my brother, and he pushed my brother away and grabbed me and shut the door and put me underneath the covers, and that's when he molested me. I was violated to the highest degree. I cried, and my mother and my grandmother was out at the time, so when they came home, I explained what had happened to him verbatim, and to my surprise, my mother was irate, and my grandmother was more so, because she was the matriarch of the family, she was like, listen, you can't tell his father what happened to him, because if you do, he's going to kill my son. Well, her son had just violated me to the highest degree. So my mother, being a good daughter to her mother, took her advice and didn't tell my father, because if my father would have found out, he would have murdered my uncle. So they allowed him to violate me and let him have his rights as a human being, but violated me as a child by not letting my father avenge what he'd done to me. And my aunt was very, very furious, and my cousin came down from New York. She was furious. My mother, she was furious, but she wouldn't want her mother. Her mother's advice was to leave it alone, not to say anything. My mother, over years, was always telling me, don't tell your father what happened. Don't tell your father. I remember her telling me this all the time. I loved my mother, so I suppressed those memories, and I didn't tell my father because I was honoring my mother's wishes. I didn't know where I was really going, but I was a child. I was like 5 or 6 years old. So what my mother said was law. It was like the Bible, you know, everything she said out of her mouth was golden. It didn't matter what she said, I was taking her advice. I started acting out at a young age from 11, started running away, did this, I did a lot of things when I was a child. As time went on, I started rebelling. I started going off, doing this, doing that, committing crime. I was questioning my own sexuality. It was so many things going on in my life, and I didn't understand why I was acting out. I was in prison around 91 and 92, and I was watching the Oprah Winfrey show. The subject matter was on child molestation. I remember as if it was yesterday. Something told me to turn the channel. Something was like, just turn, but something came on and said, man, just watch it. I said, oh, I'm going to watch it anyway. Now, the stories on there were very, very heart-moving, and I was sitting there like, wow, this is deep. But then there was one story about an uncle molesting his nephew. And I don't know what happened at that particular time. It just emotionally broke me up. I started crying. And as I started crying, those memories broke like a floodgate in my brain. And it's like I remembered everything that had happened to me and everything that happened that day, from the molestation to telling my mother and my grandmother and to them suppressing everything. Well, I sat there, I grabbed the pen and paper, and I wrote my mother and my grandmother, and I told them, both of them, I hate you. And I did hate them, because I really remember how they swept that underneath the rug and did not call the police. They didn't call anybody to deal with this predator, which was my uncle. Nobody did anything to him. I didn't love them anymore. I had no love for them. I had all hatred for them. As time went on, I went back to prison. And this last time I was in prison, I meticulously, methodically planned this guy's murder. I was bigger, I was stronger, and by no stretch of imagination was I a coward. I knew in my heart that he would have to deal with me, or I was going to deal with him. It didn't matter how it went down. We was going to get to the bottom of that. And the bottom of it was, I wanted blood. I come home, I changed my life, I started doing all these positive things. You know, people counted me out, but I started doing things that people didn't understand, but these are all the things I wanted to do when I was a child anyway, what I'm doing right now. He came to the family barbecue. We had a family barbecue, and lo and behold, he's right in front of me. Now you have to deal with me on my terms as a man. And I'm telling you, I knew in my mind that I would bet my life that he wasn't ready for what I was going to dish out. So I waited, I looked and everybody was getting all nice and drunk, whatever. I don't drink, none of that stuff, so I didn't care. As soon as I seen that they was in that zone, I started to make my move. As I was about to make my move to take him down, it's like my brother distracted me. Now, prior to that, my brother had been telling me, man, just leave it alone, leave it alone. But I was trying to tell him that, how do you tell me to leave alone something that didn't happen to you? See, it didn't happen to you, so everybody has an opinion about something when it doesn't happen to them. So I was letting him, it didn't happen to you, it happened to me. So I had all right and authority to deal with it the way I wanted to deal with it. At that precise moment that I looked across and I seen my cousin, who is his oldest daughter, and I looked at her and I kept saying to myself, she's my heart. And I'm saying to myself, how was I going to explain to her that I was about to murder her father? How was she going to take it that the reason I was doing it is because he molested me? So I was like in the catch-22, so I let it go. So right after that, my son was murdered. So I was really in this place where I've never been before mentally, and I was traumatized. My brother called me, he said, yo, me and Unc just got into it, man, on Facebook. I put it in the family group. He's a pervert. And I was telling my brother, like, I really didn't want to hear all that because I wasn't in that type of headspace at the time. So I had made a piece called Mercy versus Revenge, and in that particular comment and quote section, he said, my uncle said, proud of you, nephew. I love you. And I don't know what it was, but I just couldn't understand how he said that. Because if you love me, how did you molest me? If you love me, how did you steal my innocence? If you love me, how did you violate me and still walk around as though it was all right? Then he called me and said the same exact thing on the phone. When he said I love you on the phone, it just irked my whole soul. Like it just moved me a whole different way. And I was back in that headspace again, like, okay, let's deal with this. But the positive things that I had been doing the whole time I've been home, I was saying to myself, do I throw all that away to take him down and spend the rest of my life in prison? I didn't think so. And as I talked to my cousin Hassan, we sat back and we talked, who was my manager. He said, man, speak out against that. But we as men who have been molested don't speak out. And I'm telling you, it's okay. I'm sitting here telling you. I say to all those out there who have been violated, who have been molested by family members, please speak out. And for the family members, stop living it down. Stop telling people to hide these things. But we're so easy to say something about, oh, this is going on. That is, I can't stand this, I can't stand that. But we can tolerate child molestation because we won't give up our family members. Our moral system is upside down when it comes to the security and innocence of children. We'd rather let them be violated than give up those who are in our family. And to my uncle, I forgive you and I love you, but you need to seek help. My name is Allen Bankz. I thank you for watching.